female entrepreneurs turned besties share on life, business, and the journey through the mess. Join their community with every new episode for connection, education, a few laughs, and the hype energy like a bathroom full of drunk girls at a bar. It's okay.
We're your friends now!
Hey guys, it's Ashleigh.
Hey y'all, it's Biz.
And hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome to another episode of We're Your Friends Now. I always like to say oh, it's season 2, episode 4 or something, and we're still your friends. It's kind of a threat. How was y'all's weekend? Give me a quick highlight.
Oh God. I went to Jazz Fest. I went to Jazz Fest. Yeah, that's so exciting. Fun. Yeah, I did that.
Was it great?
Yeah, it was really nice. I actually went with just a mom friend. And so it was just her and I. And that is such a different experience than like when you're with a group or with your family. And so it was awesome. And I am going to see the Rolling Stones in person later.
What?
I know. I'm really excited.
Oh my gosh.
They're playing at Jazz Fest. They have like an entire added day just for them.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So
that's
That's awesome.
Ashley, how about you?
So true to Colorado spring, it was a literal whiteout blizzard half the weekend, and then it was completely melted the next day. So it was a little unexpected. And then my oldest is they do these overnight field trips. So we had to get her all ready and packed up to go.
Aww.
And it's hard because she's not super into it, but she's excited to like go hang out with her friends. And, you can't communicate with them. They don't have their phones or anything with them. So,
oh my gosh.
It's a little hard.
Yeah, that's hard. When does she get back?
She gets back on Wednesday, so it's pretty short.
Whoa.
Yeah. And her brother's like all excited because he's like, oh, I'm an only child for a few days.
Oh,
that's sweet.
That is sweet. That's funny.
Yeah. What about you, Katie?
You ask him what magical things he thinks happens as an only child.
Oh yeah. Well, like last night he's going to bed and he's like, I've never gone to bed without somebody telling me I need to be quiet because like he likes to read out loud. And so she'll always be in her room yelling at him like, read in your head. So he's like, that was what he was excited about.
That's really so sweet.
You need to like write that down.
I know.
Oh wait, we just recorded it.
Yeah. That's so cute.
What about you, Katie?
So Friday night we went to Farmyard Bingo, which by the way is like I like how my bingo journey is just evolving as a 35-year-old woman. So Farmyard Bingo is this guy has a farm locally, and once a year he donates a bunch of stuff, and the prizes are like farm fresh meats, produce, like all sorts of stuff. Yeah. And so it was free to play, and we went with a friend, and we ended up winning. Let me run. So we got 2 dozen of farm fresh brown eggs. We got cornbread, mac and cheese, canned pears, pumpkin butter, ground beef, chip steak, a rack of ribs, potatoes, and sweet potatoes.
You guys cleaned up.
I know.
What the? It's like a supermarket sweep. Oh my gosh.
I usually play designer bag bingo, and I'm like so much more excited about this man setting eggs down in front of me than I am about that. So we played outside a lot this weekend. The weather was nice. Connor had his first ice cream truck experience.
Oh my gosh. What ice cream did you get?
Well, I chose because it was just a lot happening. There were like 20 kids in line. So I got him this like Oreo ice cream bar because he loves Oreos. And then I got myself a Nerds Bomb Pop, which I didn't even know existed. And Connor had both.
Actually.
So, and then we ate a ton of really good food because we made all the stuff that we won at bingo. And then we did also move Connor into a big bed, not a big boy bed. He's just in a queen bed, like a big bed. Yeah.
Living the life.
We're really stable over here. anyways, yeah, it was fun. It was a really good weekend. It's nice to I become a different person when the sun comes out, I think.
Literally.
And I'm sure you felt that too, with like a whiteout, and then you're
Yes, it's okay, like during December. I don't mind having like the cozy weekends that you're just kind of inside and watching movies and doing puzzles. But once like I've hit February, I'm so freaking over it. I can't stand the snow. I can't stand the gloom. I want sun on my skin.
Yeah.
And so like literally every day it's been nice. Like Waffles goes on like 3 walks a day because I'm like, I have to photosynthesize while the sun is here.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that might be the episode title.
I need to photosynthesize.
It really is like healing though. It's so good. So it's like 83 again today. So I'm doing a bold 100 today. So after this, I'm doing the rest of my work on a patio while I eat.
Explain what a bold 100 is.
So bold 100 is while you go through the bold courses, you choose one day and you have 100 conversations about real estate in one day.
It's intense.
It is intense. It is, but it's good. So anyway, today's the day, and I'm going to go do the rest of them. I'm going to do the rest of them on a patio because that sounds lovely. Okay, so shall we actually talk?
Sure.
Yeah. What are we talking about today? Your choice, right?
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, it's going to go 100 different directions. So originally, I was thinking that we would talk about taking up space, because one of the things that Brett has, I don't want to say called me out on and have it seem negative, but like this is a frequent conversation for us, is like, I truly take joy in supporting other people, helping other people, like helping make things happen for other people, stuff like that. And when the tables turn and somebody wants to help me, or somebody may be slightly inconvenienced for something that would make me really, really happy, I like cannot function because I feel like such a burden. And this, I mean, it was like a really big talking point for us last week. And I was like, you know what, I think that we should like talk this through because of how okay it is to take up space, and like accepting that other people want to have space for you. But then I was breaking down about something else to Ashleigh. We're really, really doing well right now. And she said to me something along the lines of, do you look for the things you do well as much as you look for the things that you do wrong? And I was like, well, fuck. Then I thought like those two things kind of go hand in hand, because there's a lot of things I actually do think I do well. And also I maybe don't carve out the opportunities for me to do them because I feel like it's a burden on the people around me. So I wanted to talk to y'all both for solidarity, and also see kind of how you shape this like mindset of being okay with burdening, quote unquote, burdening other people. And at what point is it self-care and doing what you should do versus like being selfish?
Yeah. I love the way how you just like framed this episode of it just being like a vulnerable conversation around the topic, because it's definitely, that's what it is for me. I definitely don't feel like I have anything prepared for it, and at the same time have experience with it. And I also want to say kudos to Ashleigh for spinning that and turning it like introspectively, because I've always heard that all the time. And like, you know, because I catastrophize, right? Like our jobs are to think of what's going to go wrong and make sure that doesn't happen. So like the more you can think of is going to go wrong, the better you are at your job almost.
Yeah.
And it kind of like trains our brains to thinking that way. And so I worked really hard at least being conscious of when I'm doing that. And like, you know, I would love to say that I flood my brain with, you know, positive outcomes to counteract them. And like, that's just not the truth, because the reality of it is I could probably think of one way it's going to go right to like 5 ways it's going to go wrong. Right. And I mean, that in its own right, that's probably some factuality to that. I don't know.
Sure,
maybe not.
yeah.
Maybe that's just an indication of how fucked up my filter is, my teeter-totter scale on that. But the point is that I at least recognize now when it's happening. But I have never considered to turn that on myself intentionally. So like, that was really wise of you to pull that out as a tool in that moment. And I'm glad we're having the conversation. So yeah.
Sometimes I really pull something out and I wasn't even aware it was in there. So
it's like osmosis. It's like, that's why you just got to keep showing up to rooms, right?
Yeah, 100%. Because I feel like the reason that was even something I could say is because I have been grappling with some of that like idea of where am I getting my self-worth from? And when you are open to hearing the affirmations from other people that say, yes, you are worthy, yes, you are smart, yes, you are good, then you also accept that if the positive things people are saying about you is true, then the negative things must also be true. And so I'm grappling with, how do you accept criticism in a healthy way and be open so that you can be a person that's always growing and listening, but without placing your self-worth there. And that's been difficult. So that's something that's just kind of been, it was almost like similar, and I could apply it to what Katie and I were talking about.
Wow, that was such an eye-opening thing for me that you just said, because I think my way to deal with criticism, especially because I'm a words of affirmation person, and so like criticisms have potential to like I take them to heart. I almost got in a competition of like, well, I'm going to beat people to it. I'm going to criticize myself the most. So there's no new information or shock. I won't be blindsided by something negative. And sometimes it's healthy because I can talk to people about something and I'll be really open to like, yes, I know that about myself. Let's talk about it. Like, how can I make it better for you? Or how can I improve here or whatever? But you saying it like that made me be like, no, I just beat everybody to the like negative things. you can't shock me.
It's fascinating because like, to me, it's kind of part of this vulnerability bidding, I think, that I do, we were talking about. But like, I can't receive positive criticism because my inner voice is like, oh, well, if you knew this, you wouldn't think that. And I immediately, like, that's what the bad habit was that I had to bust. And, secondhand therapy here, shout out to my shrink. But the reality of it is that people don't think about you as much as you think they do.
Yeah.
And that was another thing to spin it back on it. But yeah, and that's a bit of it too. And it's crazy that we're talking about this, because I had an example of it this morning where I have like another friend who is, I don't know, I almost don't even want to use the word awkward to define us, because but y'all know how like I can be a little weird with the way that I communicate whenever
authentic.
I'm with people.
You can be authentic.
Yeah. Well, she's my friend that I met in the wild, and I am like, oh my God, you and I speak the same exact language, and I have never met anybody else like you in the entire world. And so I called her today, and like she needed me to be a friend to her, and I just happened to like serendipitously text her and be like, yo, I'm wearing your shorts this morning. And like, it's like so perfect, because I would never text her to just be like, hey, how are you? Which we've talked about in the past, right? But like me being like, yo, I'm wearing your pants, was the right nudge there. But the point is that people also can take the responsibility to say, hey, I need somebody. And it's okay, just because nobody's taking that opportunity to say, hey, I need you, doesn't mean that they're not your friend. And doesn't mean that relationship isn't rock solid. And that's the point that I was trying to make, but I can't remember why I was trying to make that point in the beginning. And so I'm really sorry if it's not traceable.
That's okay. It's still a good point.
Skills.
Yeah, it is a good point.
And what that makes me think of is that I try to think of like, now that I've done a lot of therapy, a lot of the things that I approach, I try to remember it's trauma informed decision
Yeah.
making and not rooted in trauma. And that
Ooh.
is really hard because a lot of the traumatic experiences that we go through are so they're triggered by very strong emotions and they can spiral you so quickly.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is you decide how other people feel because
Yes.
of your past traumatic experience. You're like, this happened. It's triggering a memory of this traumatic event where this person felt XYZ and did ABC. And that's what's happening right now. And it's
Yeah.
really tricky because we put feelings into other people's existence and say, that's how they feel. And that's how they feel
Yeah.
about me. And I'm going to spiral and all of these things. And we decide how other people think about us without having the conversation. Like Katie said, like racing people to, I'm going to have the negative criticism of myself. So nobody else can be the one that informs me of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what the point is with it is that like you have to take responsibility for yourself too, to say, hey, I need help. And don't assume just because a person isn't checking in on your life like every day. Because I had this whole like kind of like fucked up interpretation of what friendship was. And when I say friendship, to me, that's like having permission to take up space.
And I'm going to take a deep breath here because I have spoken about not having a relationship with my parents, but I don't really speak about anything.
Yeah.
Because I know there are people who know them who listen. A lot of mine comes from when I broke my back in high school, and my health issues were all consuming for everybody. And I get that. I broke my back in 6 places. I was 14 years old. Almost died, couldn't figure out, like, it just went on this spiral of like issue after issue after issue. And I was constantly at the doctor and physical therapy and all this stuff. And I cannot imagine as a mom what that would feel like to see your child feeling like that. And when my mom talked about it, it was always and like me, I was devastated as a 14-year-old because when I was 14, I already had athletic scholarships offered to me. I had recruits after me at 14. Like I had all this, like I had plans for the things that I love to do most, and they were all taken away. Plus I was just in like an insane amount of pain, and I was getting super bullied because I was like so thin. And the trauma of like being told you have 6 months to live, it kind of does a number on you. But my mom would always introduce me or talk about it as like, yeah, she, has to do this or feels this way all the time or whatever. Can you imagine how that feels as a mom? Can you imagine what I've been through? Can you imagine like how much work I've missed or whatever? Or it was always so frequently brought up as a burden, like that my mom had to adjust her work schedule because I wasn't old enough to drive to my appointments, or how my health issues stressed her out like so much. And I realize and acknowledge and have worked through a lot of that like that's where it comes from. And I think that's hard too, because my mom and I were insanely close. And so it was like the person who celebrated me the most and openly said that she was the one who like was showing me, unconditional love or whatever. I also felt like her biggest headache. And so like, it's like I walk this line of being so scared to inconvenience anybody because I won't be like worried of just love and celebration. Whereas like, Brett wants to shake me all the time because like he'll ask to do anything, not ask, but like run something by me to see what our plans are. And I'm like, immediate, yes, go. Do you want to go, or do you need me to give you an excuse not to go? Like, which way is this phone call going? And
just tell me what you want me to do.
Yeah. And like, if I can feasibly make it happen, I'm going to make it happen. And it's a true joy for me, even when it's hard. Like, it's such a joy. And so like, he brings up the point that I deprive him of being able to do, and not in like a blaming way, but he was like, you don't allow me to do that for you if you just try to like never ever be an inconvenience to anybody.
If you're too busy accommodating everybody else, nobody has the opportunity to provide that same gift back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's hard because also like, I feel like there's a lot that I do, but I also, and this is how they intertwine. There's so much I don't do that I'm like, well, nobody should inconvenience themselves for me. Like, I can't even get stuff done, And so it's just like this really difficult spiral that I go down.
Yeah. I think, and that's what like my whole point of like, are you looking at the things and also not just looking for the things you do right? Are you celebrating the things you do as much as you are like, even if you could just get it to where it's equal, like I did a set of laundry and that is celebrated as much as I didn't get all the laundry done.
Yeah.
And that's totally not how we operate. We operate in like getting one load of laundry done was not even the bare minimum. So I'm just berate myself for the amount of stuff I didn't get done.
And like, why do we do that though?
It's crazy. And I think it's partially like culturally ingrained in us as a capitalist society. Productivity is the highest status, right? Like, to be a CEO of a mega company that's the most valued company in America and has the highest productivity and the highest profit and is doing X, Y, like that is the epitome of like, you've succeeded. And so it is always productivity, productivity, productivity. And if you're not working a job that produces income, then your productivity doesn't have a successful of an output. So we're already degrading like domestic labor. Yeah. And then when you're not even completing the domestic labor, it's degrading yourself even further. And it's just so crazy because at the end of the day, no one does everything every single day. And
are you sure?
I'm very sure. And it's funny because like, so now that I'm married to my amazing husband, he grew up in a family where like it was a working family. They were ranchers. And so they were always doing chores. That's just kind of like what you did all the time with chores. And he also came from family where the men all do the cooking. Like that's just very typical in the family. And so it's a blessing that I have so much help domestically at home and it's very equal and we didn't have to like struggle through that. But this week or last week or whatever it was, he started a new job and he's working outside of the home for the first time. He's been working remotely forever, like probably the last 4 years. And it's different when you're outside of the home doing domestic tasks because you're gone so much of the day. And I'm like, well, I would really feel better because he does carry more of our bills. I would feel better if I took like an extra 10% of the domestic labor. But I literally have to like race him to them. And it pisses me off, to be honest, because I'm struggling with like, prepping the coffee for the next day. It's a really small thing. He does it most of the time. And I'm like, that's one small thing I could do that he doesn't have to do. And if I don't have it done before he gets home, he just does it. And it's just like, and he's doing it. And I'm sitting there like, how dare you? Like, you're making me feel like a fucking failure because you're doing the right. He's just like, I'm putting the coffee together. It's done. Like, it's
okay. But what is that? Because that's what I do too, is like, when something is done for me, I'm like, oh, like you make me feel useless because like you have to go do it. As if I should do all of my own things and also wait on everybody else hand and foot.
Yeah. It's an insane idea and standard that I literally have no idea where it comes from because I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that societally I feel a pressure because I'm home and I work remotely and I'm not the breadwinner, that's how it should be.
Interesting. Biz, do you feel that way when people help you out?
I don't get a lot of help that I don't directly I don't know.
So do you feel that guilt when you ask for help?
I don't know. It's hard to listen to this because like it's hard to listen to how I fit into it because my life is so like regimented right now and like clearly well defined in like responsibilities between my husband and I as far as like the daily tasks because he's a stay-at-home dad, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's hard to like quantify help because like the things that like y'all, you know, like y'all are talking about like help and stuff, like they're just, yeah.
Well, but what about like,
No.
because it's not just about that. It's not just about those examples we gave. Like sometimes you need like a lifeline from a friend, right? Like you need
Emotional support.
yeah, you need like somebody to listen to you or to guide you through a conversation or to like rein in, you know, like I have my spirals or whatever, you know, and like sometimes I have some people that I feel super comfortable and like utmost gratitude for those people, but then sometimes like I feel like such a burden if I ask somebody for their time or their emotional space or capacity, like, and it's crazy.
Well, I mean, it's like I said, it's a vulnerable place for me because like if I'm being honest in how I answer that, right? Like I have a therapist that I see once a week that I pay to listen to me about those things and help me work through stuff. And then I have a team that provides leverage for all work solution things. And my home is fairly well divided. I mean, Jonathan and I have been doing this for 4 years now, so we got a system in place. And so that's why like it's such a sensitive topic for me to kind of identify friendship. And when we're talking about like, you know, if we're walking in and taking up space and being a burden, I was kind of thinking like in terms professionally, like when I walk into new like spaces, like to feel like I belong there and I have something to provide, like we've kind of talked about before. But when I think about it on like an individual friend level, it kind of, and this is why I keep getting lost, is because it's so fresh. But like Katie, it's like your example again. That's why that was so impactful to me when it happened about that energy exchange and how important it is to talk to people, because I will schedule myself into a corner to where I literally don't have time to talk to anyone that is not pre-scheduled. And it's really sad in some ways because I lose a lot of opportunity for spontaneity. And I feel like a lot of times I become that friend that like doesn't get invited because I don't get to go, you know, or I worry with that. But then I also have friends like I talked to this morning, right? Where it's like, you know, I just met her within the past year, which is crazy. Or just, you know, but it's hopeful as the people that are yet to come. So friendship is a weird one for me. I do feel like a burden a lot of times. I mean, I guess the way that I don't feel like a burden is by picking up the phone and asking people if they have capacity or kind of texting first. But I've also learned to be more direct in my approach and saying like, hey, I need to talk to someone. You are a good person for me to talk to because of X. Do you have time in the next Y? And like asking very directly, because the bad habit or the habit that I have of bidding, people don't always pick up on the hints. And so sometimes you got to say point blank this, that, and with it. And so I've gotten better about that. And I also try really hard to make time for people when they need me. But it's really tough, man, because my calendar truly in this season is very full, and it's weird. It's a weird adjustment. Like it's making me like hyper aware again, like of where my time is being spent. And so therefore I'm hyper aware of what time I am taking up of others. Like, I don't know, it's something too about like getting on important, like people who you would consider importance calendars. Like when we were planning that interview with Diana, right? And it was just like, oh my God, we just had 17 minutes of her time. Like just, like, you know, the three of us. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's weird. I feel like when I consider in the work sphere asking for help or more of the friend sphere, I have a lot of fear around asking for help and it being rejected.
Oh, interesting.
A lot
Maybe
of
that's
fear
what
around
I'm
that.
feeling, is just really fearful because I'm struggling with words in a way that I really don't usually. But it's because I'm very uncomfortable. But I think I truly think, Katie, because like all that you're saying is like, I don't know how to have a wise conversation about this. I just know how to experience it.
Yeah.
Like,
Same.
Yeah.
Same though. I'm not looking for like an XYZ. I just like, I think it turns into the thing of like, we feel like a burden. And I usually start to like, anytime I feel an emotion, I always break down why, like what led to that, what's it rooted in, why do I feel that, and get down deep with it. And I just feel like that's kind of where I'm in. Like, I know why I feel like a burden. I know where that comes from, but also like, why can't I get past it? Like, why can I not accept, like, why can't I accept that, like, people are okay? Like, people are okay with me being in their lives.
This is how I always think about like the human brain, is that there's, right, we know that there's neurons that connect and the synapses builds that little bridge. And the more you have that bridge be traveled, the stronger that bridge becomes over time. And so during a very, very formative part of your youth, you were building the synapses that you needing help, literal like needing, was a burden on somebody, and it destroyed a relationship that you held in really high regard. And that bridge is really, really strong. So you have to not only deconstruct that, which is the acknowledging and the like, let me break my emotion down logically, but then you also have to turn it into, okay, I have to think about, like, I forget what they call it, but I know the therapists call it like you critically think about your feelings instead of feeling them.
Yeah.
And that's a problem sometimes.
Yeah.
And I do this all the time. I'm like, well, logically, I'm feeling angry.
Yeah.
Like, instead of just being angry and then like working through it. And then also at the same time, when you feel that, you have to build the synapses on the other side. So when you are feeling the most afraid and the most like you're being a burden, is the time you have to build the synapses that says, I'm going to ask for the help now. I'm going to tell somebody I need them to do something for me. That's how you redirect the neurons and start really working on that new bridge of, it's like, I need to stop the neuron from going over here, make it over here, even though I don't like it, and make it do the thing I want it to do.
And then give myself a little treat.
And then,
because
I'm going to build some positive reinforcement. I'm going to Pavlov myself.
Yeah, because I am for sure going to like Brett and I had this conversation. Literally, let me break this down for you. And by the way, Brett and I prioritize communication like so strongly, which props to this man, because anybody who's willing to be in a relationship with somebody who frequently sleeps like an hour to 2 hours a night and interpret their communication, like phenomenal. Patience of a saint, this man.
To our point, you know, I just keep thinking about our first episode and the let's fucking go and like just push yourself off a cliff. And these reoccurring themes of like knowing and like forcing yourself to do. And that's my thing. It's like I force myself to pick up the phone and call somebody.
Yeah.
Like I force myself to do it anyway, because I do always end up feeling better.
Oh gosh,
if I don't, I call someone else. But it is kind of like deflecting.
Is it? Do you think that's what you're doing?
I don't know. I think it's deflecting, but no, it's deflecting until it's not. And that is important to say, because I think it honestly starts out like, I don't know. sometimes I'm strong enough to be like, yeah, I'm being intentional right now. And I'm calling somebody to like share energy. And other times I'm calling to deflect. And I just am like, wah, 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 wah. And usually the person that I'm calling is of our mindset and growth caliber. And so they will, even if I'm calling to deflect, I end back around. But somewhere in the conversation, there's like a nugget exchange. And between both of us, where like the conversation is mutually beneficial. And I never know when it's coming or what it's going to be, but it like 90% of the time always happens. And that nugget, the process itself is a grounding measure for me. Ooh. That this too will pass and like the best is yet to come. And like there are people out there in the world that I am not a burden to. And like giving yourself permission to find them and like appreciate the moment that just happened, that is further proof that there's more out there to come. And so like I'm like such a hippie at heart with those things. And you know, like I said, so like it's really, I like to look at structures and strings through stuff these days more so than specific examples. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think that was really good. That's a really good point. I think it's interesting too, like I said, it's a funny balance for me because, and I was explaining this to Ashleigh the other day when she said the thing about searching for the things I do well, is like I have been so focused on like growth and development and all this stuff, and like I've grown so much in the past couple of years, and I really have like taken time to acknowledge things where I have talent or I have skill or that I have grown or whatever, and obviously always looking to do more of that. And I told her like it's really difficult because the season of my life doesn't allow for capacity to really showcase that or allow it to come to fruition. And what that turns into, instead of just an acceptance of like, okay, well, here's probably the things that I can balance right now, and like, let's go do those. It just turns into me like being upset with myself for not being able to make it happen. It's like every day I wake up and I'm like, okay, let's figure out how to go do the physically impossible today. And like, it's just an unhealthy outlook, like from the beginning. And so that was so funny to me when you said it, Ashleigh, because like, I was like, I have gotten a lot better about just being okay with acknowledging things, even small things. Like somebody asked me the other day about like, you know, what are your best skills and worst skills, like whatever the things you get asked in a job interview. And I was so confident and super comfortable just telling people like my absolute power is being a connector. And then here's like, that's my superpower. And then like, here's my other skills that are really valuable to this. And I was super confident in it. I was like, so I see it and I know it, but I don't allow myself to acknowledge it because I'm not utilizing it like as much as I should. Really? Like, is that fair? Like, that's gross.
Yeah.
So it's such a good, it's almost like when you said that, I look for the good, but then I put a comment after it and I'm like, but not as well as you could. Like, okay, well, you do this, but not as well as you could.
Yeah. And I mean, to me, I'm actively trying to, you know, there's this term that's become really popular lately, and it's like called reparenting yourself. And not all of the issues we have now are because of our parents or our childhood. Some of them happened after, but in general, I just term it as reparenting. And so like, if I make that phone call I was putting off and talk to that client that I thought was really mad at me, and it turns out they're not, and I'm like, I hang up and I out loud, I sit there and I'm like, good job, Ashleigh. That was really good of you. You picked up the phone. And you know, something that like that little nugget of like, I almost feel like, oh, well, you shouldn't need recognition. And there's nothing wrong with giving it to yourself and validating it and putting that, like I said, like looking for who am I going to believe about my worth and my value. And at the end of the day, I mean, like, yes, I have great people in my life who will give me validation and everything, but at the end of the day, it should come from me. I should be happy with myself. And so I'm really trying to replant that internally, where I recognize and I validate the good.
Okay, first of all, stealing that.
Please do.
Because that's incredible. And second of all, yes, you know what? That actually, like, we talk so much about how you talk to yourself and how you speak to yourself and how much it matters. And like, you actually should value your own opinion of yourself more than other people's.
Yeah.
And then verbalize it out loud. Oh, I like, and that's so different from affirmations because I too enjoy appreciation and recognition. And like, I just had this conversation with Brett the other day. I was like, I feel like I do everything and nothing. And it's really, really frustrating. I was like, but most of my time is spent with a 3-year-old who is not going to appreciate and acknowledge. Like, he does not give a single care that I got 3 loads of laundry done in one day and it's all folded and put away. He will not care. Like, that is not. And I was like, almost everything that I do is for him, about him, whatever. And like, he's not going to acknowledge it. I should acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And I will tell, like, so Brett is super analytical and I love that. We share that. But like the other day when I got my offer, I told him and he immediately started asking questions about it. And then like later I was like, hey, I need you to pause and just like say congratulations and that you're proud of me and thank me for doing this like for our family.
Yeah.
And he was like, did I not? And I was like, no. And he was like, oh my gosh, in my head, I was so excited. And then I like asked these questions and I was like, nah, bro, you like went straight to analytical.
Yeah. Like your excitement started asking your analytical questions.
Yeah. Well, and like, he also, I was excited. And so he's like, I kind of thought that it showed, but I was like, no, I literally need you to sit here and say the words to me.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm waiting.
I'm curious, Biz, if you also are somebody that like, if you do something or accomplish something, do you try to validate that for yourself or do you not?
Or do you need recognition?
Yeah.
I'm very transactional and on to the next thing. So like, I think my biggest grief is like taking time to recognize it, that it's happened. And then I just keep running until I get sticky again. And then I'm like, oh, this is comfort. Like, this is the place. And so, yeah. So I guess, yeah. But no, I don't. I guess that's the answer is no, I don't need the validation, but maybe I should be validated and I should validate myself more. Okay. Because maybe it would help slow me down some and be more confident and cool and collected all the time. And I will tell you what, Ashleigh?
I might be wrong about this, but because you're the breadwinner for your family and the only working member of the family right now, do you feel like your validation comes in the fact that you're providing? So as long as there's food on the table, you feel like, oh, is that, is that where your validation comes from?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you want to call that validation, yes. And yeah, actually,
because I feel like you're
onto something with that, Ashleigh. And this is like one of those things that like I said, I'm just being quiet over here because I'm really listening and like chewing on everything you guys are saying because it's been 4 years, a little over 4 years now since Jonathan stopped working. And and like there are times where I literally have touched the walls of my house and been like, here's proof, here's proof. Like,
here's proof.
Got this.
Yeah. I mean, that's so good.
But it's really personal. Like it's a private thing that I do. So I guess I don't know if I would call that like, is that me validating it or is it me seeking validation from external things? You know, I mean, I'm
know
genuinely
either.
asking, like, do you think that's a healthy like thing I should lean
No,
into
I
or
think it's
practice?
healthy. I think
Or
it's gratitude.
yeah.
But it's almost like I'm thinking about validation love languages. Like everybody probably feels validation in some different sense. And for
Yeah.
you, it's a lot of like, what have you built? Like your investments, your things that you're building, your career, like
Your team.
your team. Yeah, those things are so you're like
The
your
time
love
with your
language is
daughter.
almost like that tangible output of what you've created and built. Because I know you seem, in my opinion, anyways, to struggle a little more when you don't feel like your month's income or output is there and that you're
Yeah.
Oh
you're a
yeah.
little more unsteady when that's happening because obviously entrepreneurship and sales, your income is always this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm working on it really hard, but the whole like tying your self-worth to your net worth thing was a big aha nugget for me. And like I don't know, some of it too is how many people are like so eager, like men, I'm just gonna fucking say it. It's just men are so eager to give unsolicited advice.
Oh yeah.
And like there's so many times that I feel like a burden because it's like, how can I share something with you that can help?
Yeah.
Like what do I have that is worthy of giving to you or could even soften this blow or whatever you're going through?
Yeah.
And like I really, I think we take the time to like earn that place and do and whatever. And that's not how my male counterparts do shit.
They don't think
And
No.
like it's not. And that stark difference has helped me better set up like protective boundaries around myself. And the way that I communicate, but really allow others to communicate to me.
Yeah.
And that helps with the burdening of it too. And so it's like, but I guess you're right. Like it's holding myself to my own standard. Like, is it clear? Is it kind? Is it productive? Like constructive, yeah. So lots of stuff. But I mean, I guess I do validate myself. I definitely wish that I had more validation from others in my life. I mean, if I'm being honest, I feel like I could use a little more. And the reason why I can say that statement confidently is because of how powerfully it impacts me when I do receive it.
Yeah.
Like I'm constantly like, as the leader of the team, right? Like you're constantly like, thank you, like to everybody else. And like that time where my team turned around and like thanked me for being the top of the food chain, like nobody had really done that before. And that meant a whole lot, So yeah, so it's just fascinating. But I think you're onto something with it because I mean, I do feel comfortable when my bills are paid. And I do feel validated that I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
When I touch the walls of my house in the city that makes my soul come alive,
Yeah.
But it also kind of circles back to gratitude and the little things. So I mean, yeah, it's all part of my big web. I just never really consider it as validation. Never really called it out as that, I guess.
I don't look at the way, if this is where validation comes from, I don't look at the way you're doing that as unhealthy. I think it is very internal. And I think as long as the validation primarily comes from your internal self, then it's healthy.
In whatever form, like whether that's paying bills, touching your house, going to Jazz Fest because you can.
Right.
Like, then I think that's like,
yeah,
that
because
seems
it's
really healthy to me.
Yeah. Because to me, it's part of it is trusting myself. Like sometimes I know you guys have had to be part of this. Sometimes I film like a video to put out on social media and I will send it to people and be like, can you just confirm that this is funny?
Yeah.
And I try not to do that because I'm like, at the end of the day, when I'm putting something out there, it should be funny to me. And if it's not, then I shouldn't post it. And so I shouldn't be running around trying to make other people, other content for them. I should be making content that makes me happy. And that's very hard for me to do because I'm always like, oh, I think this would really be funny to other people. And then it just doesn't do as well because I'm like, it doesn't speak to me.
Yeah. Interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah. It's hard to really shift that fully internally.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that. And I think that's a really good thing for me to focus on though. Is like maybe my evening journaling turns into me celebrating things that I did that day. And then I have to say them out loud, like to Brett.
Yeah. And it's interesting, I think, for somebody whose love language is words of affirmations at such a high level, because there's almost a conflict there. And I'm curious if you experimented with shifting that validation to your own words of affirmation, if over time your love languages might, like the levels of them might change some.
Probably. I think probably so, because if I speak more words of love to myself, then I don't need it. It's like not as high of a priority to receive it from other people.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I should buy myself more gifts.
But think about how happy Biz is when she comes back from an estate sale with something.
Dude, you're so right.
I am so right, Biz. You need to buy yourself more gifts.
Biz immediately logs off the recording to go shopping.
There was something else you said that I wanted to say, and all I thought about was shopping when you said that about changing and shifting.
Your love languages might shift if you were to show your own self-love in that love language.
Yeah.
But it's true.
Shopping's on the brain now.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we gotta go. This episode's done. We all need to go shopping.
Oh, I remember. Okay. It was a taking a step further from the example you just gave yourself is once you've journaled for a week. So do it now until we record again and see what keyword or maybe two that you can like pull out of it. And then I would write that word on your mirror in like a whiteout marker, not like a white, like a dry erase board marker. Just so that way it's more top of mind in your forefront and can serve as a point.
Y'all hold me accountable.
So that way you have it at night and in the morning.
Next week before we record, I have to tell you what the words are because my journal app will automatically pull out frequently used words.
Ooh.
Yeah, but put them somewhere else. Like put it on your mirror. I'm telling you,
no,
man,
I'm saying no, Biz. Yeah. I'm saying I have to tell you what the words are next week.
Oh, okay. Bet. I'm in.
Yeah.
Thanks, app, for the accountability that I just thought I created.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this has been it's been a lot. I feel like this is one of our most all over the place episodes and also like healing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not a burden
about like stuff that you don't have a ton of clarity on, because sometimes I feel like our episodes, like we tied them up with a little bow. We walked from A, B, and C and like resolution, and this one, it's kind of like,
this is more just solidarity. Like I'm sure other people feel this way truly. And like, this is friendship, honestly.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, and like, let me just say, because sometimes being a friend and being a good friend is saying the obvious out loud, right? So like, you are not a burden. You have many amazing things. And every single conversation I have with you, I end feeling better no matter what. And even if it's better, it's something like I'm walking away with something to work on. I feel loved through that. And so you are not a burden. My heart always skips a beat when your name's on my phone.
Oh, that's like the best compliment ever.
Yeah, it's true. I answer even when I'm in the weeds.
Same for you. I have like my set list of people that I'm like, unless I'm like legitimately dead,
Oh, good to know that I'm going to go straight
Legitimately.
to 911 the next time you don't answer my call.
I like the qualifier legitimately dead. Like, if I'm on my way, I'll still pick up.
I mean, I was answering phone calls. Gosh, a couple months ago.
Your biz doesn't call 911. Hold on.
A couple of months ago, I went to the ER because we weren't sure if I was having a heart attack or not. And like people were texting me and like calling me, and Brett was, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm distracting myself." He was like, "You can't talk to anybody. Like, you're gonna walk in the hospital and go get tested. Like, you can't talk to anybody. You need to just sit there and breathe." And I was like, "No." What if they need me?
My fingers. Oh, Katie. Yeah.
This was thank y'all for talking to me.
Yeah,
with me, not at me. This was fun.
In a like, in like a, it's hard to look at yourself this way.
Yeah. But also, it's good growth. There were a lot. I can't wait to listen to this back because there's going to be like some good little for me to take out. Thank y'all for talking through this with me. I appreciate it. Neither of y'all are burdens. You are such joys in my life. And thank you to everybody who joined us again for another week. We love y'all. Please, I will burden you with, you better go rate, subscribe, review us, share us with a friend.
We do check those. So
we do.
If we see your name, it will make our heart sing.
I always try to check it before Ashleigh, just to make sure that
Oh, I do. As always, I have one more thing. I meant to say it earlier, and then we got on a different topic. Talking about how I said I like to beat myself to the negative things that other people say, but it's really important to me that I say this because I had this conversation recently that I was parading around self-sabotaging, disguising it as extreme ownership. So while it's important to take ownership for your actions and your reactions and the things that you do, don't like go down that negative train of like taking so much ownership over everything negative that happens, that it becomes a sabotage.
Yeah.
And with that,
guys, don't forget. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, have a great day. Love you. Bye.
Smooches.
Next time.
And with that, we'll see y'all next week. Boop, 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 boop.